Hi, my name is Guy Lawrence, and thanks for tuning into my podcast today. If you're enjoying these conversations and you want to check out more of this transformational work, be sure to come back to guylawrence.com.au and join me as we go further down the rabbit hole. Enjoy the show. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for so much for having me here, Guy.
I always start the show with this question, and that is, let's say you were at an intimate dinner party right now and you sat next to a complete stranger and they asked you what you did for a living. What would you say?
What would I say I do for a living? I would say that everything revolves around a show, a podcast, a YouTube show. So that's coaching, teaching, writing, helping. Well, I'd say my mission statement: raise people's vibration, elevate consciousness, shift humanity, all starting with the show.
That's a big mission. That's a big mission.
It is, but it's your mission too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know, and I'm sure it's like a calling. You get called to do it, and it's a very exciting journey. Now, I've been delving into all of your work, Michael, and first of all, the amount of effort and time and everything that you've put into it, I can relate to and really appreciate what you're going. And the amount of enthusiasm, passion you have for this work just like jumps through the camera every time you speak, And what I'm always fascinated with is what has led you to this point? Like, what pivotal moments in your life? Because I'm sure, speaking for myself, when I look back, there's been certain catalysts for change. And for you to be doing what you're doing with so much passion and enthusiasm, I'm guessing there are some catalysts of change in your backstory too.
There are catalysts of change. Oftentimes they hurt. So my first catalyst of change was a bicycle accident at 10 years of age, which led to 6 different operations. And I was told that I'd be lucky to still be walking by 18. I'd never be athletic, this, that, and the other thing. I went on to become a professional athlete to race bicycles in Europe. And what I learned is we're not what anybody else tells us, and our limitations are not real. I went from there and racing bicycles in France. I got waived by a safety official there in one of my years there into an oncoming car. It's kind of a vous allez, ooh. And laying in the pavement, looking at my leg at a right angle to what it was supposed to be, or my lower leg, I thought, God is dead. There is no God. And there's no reason to any of this. And it led to 6.5 or 7 years in pain treatment centers and lots of PTSD. And at the same time, got involved with, dated a Navajo girl who took me into Native American ceremony. I grew up Jewish, but I was also sent to Catholic school every chance that my parents had, because those were the best schools. And so I'd had Judaism, I had Catholicism, and now I had Native American tradition. And it all started to blend together. And I know I had at least one, I wouldn't call it a peak experience, but an experience where you went from sunset to sunrise in a sweat lodge. And it was the first moment, drums going, coals. They had peyote. You were taking peyote, which is a mushroom, plant medicine. I didn't actually experience anything from the peyote. But what I got, or no visuals, what I got, because I was afraid I'd throw up. I got a feeling of I'm not alone, that I couldn't be alone, that you could never be alone. It was the first time I experienced that. Fast forward to 2004, and I had a dream and followed that dream. I literally had a dream, sold all my racing gear. I was back racing. I was top 10 in the nation for 30 plus riders. It was still pretty decent. I got 7th at nationals in my sprints, and I had this dream that I'd be doing a bike ride across the country to help people with learning disabilities and attention deficit disorder. So I sold all my racing gear, riding across the country. I'm going through Colorado, which is the state that I was from at the time, but I was in eastern Colorado. It was a torturous night. I'd been going for over 100 miles, but the last 30 were walking because the pavement wasn't actually rideable for a bicycle. And it was raining, it was cold, I was miserable. I prayed, the clouds opened up, the moon began to shine. My batteries had long since conked out. I'm riding on walking at this point on the edge of the highway. And it was another experience of not feeling alone And it was a 5,000-mile, 40-day solo unsupported bike ride across the country. And from Colorado all the way through the rest of the country, I had everything shut off. And I was just kind of plugged in. Fast forward 2 years later, I'm sponsored by Rollerblade to do a world record skate across the country. I had my first of 2 near-death experiences and 3 accidents in a row, many years apart. And that accident shifted my beingness. It was almost as if me left and a new me entered. I was very egoically strong before and much more me-centered, even though I was we-centered. I was helping other people. And I had written my first book for students and adults with attention deficit disorder. But this kind of reset me and changed my entire outlook in life, changed everything about me. And you may hear at some point this, I don't know if we want to call it guttural joy. We'll call it guttural joy. It comes up inside of me, this woohoo that had never been there beforehand. That came out. And to heal, because I was told I was going to lose my leg or my life, I didn't. I was coaching the doctor and telling him everything's going to be all right, doc. Everything in life happens for a reason. But I went on with my wife years later. I healed by going barefoot, connecting to the earth, became a barefoot runner. My wife came along. We ended up writing Barefoot Running together, became a bestseller. Then we wrote Barefoot Walking, and I went on book tour and had near-death experience number 2 while out on a book tour gone bad. And it's interesting, after the first accident, I was left with a titanium femur in my left leg, a titanium hip, and some wire hoops that hold it all together, and an inch leg length discrepancy because one leg was longer than the other due to the titanium in there. After the second accident, I now had a matching, identical twin titanium femur in the right leg, twin titanium hip, identical hardware, so identical that when the doctors came after I got out of surgery, they said, "How did you already get the x-rays up on your website?" Hadn't. It had faked him out from the first accident. Identical, and no more leg length discrepancy. Everything in life happens for a reason. And then 1 year later, while recovering out on a bicycle one day, I had been recording a mindful running program. It was our last day of recording. The bicycle swept out from underneath me, and I don't even know how it did it. And I hit the ground so hard, I broke all the bones in front of my heart, all the bones behind my heart, and everything above my heart. And that was the final of this trifecta of heart opening that it took me. I mean, I had profound experiences from the near-death experiences, but ego always tries to get in the back door. And that was the one. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm in awe of the trifecta that you've been through. I mean, the amount of I'm first thing that comes to is pain in the body, and pain that you felt, and the suffering that comes through. And I believe everything happens for a reason too. I believe we're in the school of life. Like, that's the kind of conclusion I've come to from my own experiences. But why do you think it took a trifecta of extremely painful accidents with matching hip replacements, which is incredible, for you to really fully embody what you do now?
It's interesting. I've been teaching a lot about money and manifestation lately. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be some parallels here, which is we seem to have ceilings on money until we're ready. Mm-hmm. And then we can open to a new level and open to a new level. I wasn't maybe ready on some level to get all of the lessons at the same time. I had to get some of the lessons, expand, grow into them, have some, we'll call it remission, some slipping backwards, and then grow into the next and grow into the next before I was ready. And I'm still learning. But it's really, to me, you've been through a similar experience, yet hopefully without nearly as much pain. When you suddenly see the world differently, you feel the world differently, you get the big picture. It is easy to get on your high horse and say, I must save the world. And in a sense, that's what we're hoping to do, although the world doesn't need any saving. but we do want to elevate consciousness and help everything to expand.
Hmm.
So after that first time, I felt I must slay the dragons even more. I must do even more. I'm still here as a gift for humanity. What can I do? What do I need to do? Push, 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 drive, 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 smack, stop. Push, 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 drive, 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 smack, stop. I had a lesser injury recently where I was still starting to get out of that alignment. Universe likes to speak to me, unfortunately, fortunately, with a little bit of a 2x4, of that push too much versus getting and staying in that state of flow, in that state of trust that will truly all unfold as it should.
There's the magic right there, isn't it? You know, it's interesting, Michael, like you say, because we just had a baby daughter, and she's now 8 months old, nearly 8 months old, Ava.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I've got to, please forgive me. And I don't need sympathy or anything. We've had 3 miscarriages. We're going to be trying again this spring. I've now been told your magic age. Was it right away, or was this a process? Because I'm so happy for you.
It was a process. We had a miscarriage as well, and it was heartbreaking. And I can relate to what you guys have been going through. But I've always had that drive as well, and I continue to do so. And I mean, our company is called Live in Flow, for fuck's sake, but there's an element of I really relate to what you say when sometimes we really need to be present, and we really need to be in the now, and that's where divinity is, and that's where our true self lies. And if we can come back to that place more, then the expansion of that opens up for us, and we let in what we're ready to receive, right? And actually having Ava, she's been my biggest teacher yet, because she reminds me every single moment, every time I look into her eyes and hold her, to go, guys, slow down. It's okay. You actually have everything in your life right now. If I look back, even just 10 years ago, I would have bitten anyone's arm off to have created and where I live and what I do right now. But then there's that human condition that's behind us, right? That's always creeping its head. And I think that's where the practices and work come into it, to then remind us of who we truly are, And what I'm interested with you as well was, after that trifecta of incidences to lead you to what you're doing now, what made you decide to start a podcast? Now, I'm keen to get into the automatic writing, because I have no doubt this is all going to lead back into the decisions you're making. But what happened then? You've obviously gone and created something extremely special with Inspired Nation, and you're reaching a lot of people.
It wasn't my idea.
We
we were living on Maui. We had a 2-book deal, but everything was falling apart. Our finances were falling apart. Our health, and our finances and health were interrelated. How do you run a business when you're broken? Twice. Mm-hmm. And then my wife came down with mold toxicity poisoning and got very, very sick.
Wow.
And so we're wiped out financially. She's completely sick. I'm broken and getting better. And we had to leave our dream home on Maui, where we were several thousand feet up on the side of a volcano, seeing the waves come in on both sides of the ocean. It was the most incredible place. Mm-hmm. That's the wound that I haven't dealt with yet. If I look at images of Maui or something, I just fall apart. But we left and we went back to her childhood home in New Jersey. And we stayed in her little 8x10 childhood bedroom, 2 twin mattresses on the floor. And she's sleeping all day long. And I had known of automatic writing. First off, I'd been taught a process similar to it, about plugging into the librarians of the universe, the Akashic Masters. I had learned that process many years before, which had morphed into this automatic writing process that I kind of developed, because it just came out of the ether, so to speak. It unfolded before me. But I hadn't really practiced it until I got back to New Jersey. And both through automatic writing, walking, my version of walking in the woods in New Jersey was walking next to a highway where there were some trees next to me, and going quiet. And I'm going, where do I go from here? What do I do? And I hear, and I got in my writing, what have you enjoyed doing more than anything else? Well, we were making Mindful Running last year. I interviewed a lot of people. That was fun. Aha. Well, then what's the show supposed to be about? If we're supposed to do a show, is it supposed to be a health show? Is it supposed to be an ADD show, a running show? Well, what would you really want to do? Well, at the end of the day, I'd want those shows to talk about spirituality. There you go. And I was given step by step how to start the show, how to use my marathon, so to speak, skills to get it to be one of the top shows in the world in only a month or two. And then how to get my coaching business going about 6 months later, all came out of each and every morning going into automatic writing.
Wow.
Going into prayer, going into meditation, putting pen to paper, different than journaling. It's not a, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I literally go to Spirit. What do I need to know today? Am I on track? Am I on path? Where am I supposed to go? I got answer after answer after answer. And here we are 6 years later, almost 6 years later, 2,000 shows in on audio and video. I met many, love meeting you, many of the top, most amazing human beings on the planet, doing some incredible things, way far exceeding and surpassing anything I ever dreamed possible, like yourself, all coming out of that process.
Amazing. It is amazing. And I'm so related because it's not often I get other podcasters on, you know, and it's life-changing once you start to have these conversations. It's very special. You know, I'm thinking right now, like I've got Reverend Michael Beckwith coming on literally next week. And I'm thinking, like, wow, I get to sit down for an hour and have a conversation with this man. You know, it's very special, isn't it? And, you know, with all the people you have on, I'm fascinated because I find people I meet in person a lot and people that listen to this, we all kind of lose. I think when we start to hit our late 30s, 40s, sometimes we can lose our identity a little bit and ask, is this all there is? And kind of want that direction and that purpose to come back in. So if I'm not mistaken, you're saying automatic writing is a way of tapping into yourself to allow the wisdom that's already within us to start to come through. Would that be a fair way to say it? Or
yes,
how would you break it down?
Yeah. Well, because it depends, Guy, on how we define ourselves. If we define ourselves, so we can take the non-woo-woo version, and I know on your website you talk about whether it's woo-woo or not. You can look at these things either way. A non-woo-woo version is you're tapping into your inner wisdom, you're tapping into your subconscious, you're tapping into your deepest part of yourself. From a more woo-woo perspective, you're tapping into source, God, universe, love, the Akashic field, etheric field, whatever we want to call it, giant cheeseburger in the sky, which we are a part of, or it is a part of us. We are everything. So in that sense, it is tapping into us, but it's tapping into a higher level perspective. You got to go to the Einstein quote, which I'm sure you've used a bunch of times as well. You never solve a problem from the same level from which it was created. And so we have to get, either you can call it outside of yourself or inside of yourself, to a deeper, higher level. And there you ask the questions that can't be solved by the thinking mind. And you get a much better answer.
So if I had a pen and a blank piece of paper, and I know this comes up because we kind of do similar processes in our group coaching, but if we're sitting there and just like, oh, nothing wants to come out, where do we start?
So with this process, you would start by actually writing out a few prayers. There's an intention prayer, which creates this sacred vessel around you. There's an invocation prayer to call in assistance, to invoke either from within or from outside of you, whatever you want to define it, 3D, 5D, doesn't matter. And then you put on theta brain entrainment music, so that you binaural brain entrainment music to get your brain into a state where your frontal lobe, the part of your brain that is responsible for writing. And we had Dr. Andrew Newberg in this book, who is a neuroscientist. I'm sure you're familiar with him. If you haven't had him on, which I'm guessing you have, you have to have him on. And he talks about SPECT scans and actually studying Brazilian automatic writing channelers. And the frontal lobe, when you're in a theta brain entrainment state or theta brainwave state, powers down. The parietal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for the amazing Beatles, George Harrison last song, I, Me, My, that powers down. We get into this we zone, this we state. Now you put pen to paper, and I encourage you to write stupid. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. This is so silly. Heard this on the Guy Lawrence show. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. What do I write? What do I write? It's okay. You're loved. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. Breathe deep. Everything's okay. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I don't know what to write. It's all right. In other words, you just put pen to paper, let it flow, and little snippets tend to come out. Actually, a whole bunch of people get profound words in the beginning. A lot of people don't get anything, though, until a few weeks later. Either way, though, you're creating a cosmic handshake. And you feel better, you feel different because your resonance, your vibration is going up through the process, even if you're not hearing specific words yet. And it's never like, well, I don't know about never, but usually it doesn't start with this booming voice in the sky. It's in all of a sudden stuff coming out on paper. So this morning, I was having a long, lengthy discussion with Spirit while I was brainstorming about the day ahead. But the brainstorming was going on here. What was coming out on the paper was completely different. Out of your thinking mind.
Yeah. I was going to say, how do you then begin to trust that? Because if somebody is stuck in their mind a lot, which most of us are conditioned to be, to resolve all problems from the thinking mind, then it would be easy to fall into the trap and say, no, this is just nonsense. This is just my thinking mind. This isn't a part of myself. So how do we transition from that and into actually trusting the wisdom that comes through?
It's a great question. It was actually the challenge I had when I first started into it. Because when I first had this class with the Akashic Masters, similar practice, they're telling me how great I am, how much I'm going to help the world, how I'm going to speak from on a mountaintop on high before millions.
Wow.
Which is what we're doing now. And I had to read this back to the class, and I thought, well, this is my ego clearly gone awry. And I got really upset with myself for trying to be this grand person in class and lying about all this stuff. And I didn't touch it for years. And the next time I touched it, the same stuff came out and so forth and so on. What I came to realize is that the thinking mind doesn't actually really praise us. The thinking mind speaks in a, if only you shoulda, woulda, coulda done this, or you are shoulded all over. Regrets, disappointment, chastising, fear, beratement. That tends to be the thinking mind. And it comes from a I, me, my perspective. Automatic writing is a second person perspective. Guy, you are loved. You are good. Everything is all right. You are perfectly on track. Very different, at least until the experience you've gone through, from what our thinking mind tends to give us. And it becomes very easy to look at the page or even read things back and feel, well, this is clearly me. It doesn't make me feel so good. This is really different here. And it becomes very easy to become discerning. And then the more you practice, the easier it is to hear that voice throughout the day, not just when you're writing. So the key to my success in podcasting or coaching or whatever is I'm plugged in here, heart level with you, and I'm plugged in here, heart level with source or spirit that comes out of the automatic writing.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. Do you have a daily practice? Like, is this something you do every single day now?
Like oxygen.
Wow.
And I'm encouraged by automatic writing experience to do it multiple times a day. So I do it each morning when I rise. If I'm teaching a class, so let's say, well, tomorrow I'll teach a class. And the class will be at 5:30. And so at 4:30, or maybe a little bit earlier, it's crazy. I will go into automatic writing and say, what am I teaching tonight? This could really get your belly into a flip-flop. And out on page will come everything. Even crazier thing. And I can't believe I'm going to share this, not because it's just not something that was in my wheelhouse until recently. Jessica was doing, we'll call it automatic graphic design. She does automatic writing daily as well. That's my wife. We call her Pookie, or she's been upgraded to the Pook Star. She's my everything. And Jessica was doing a graphic for our every Wednesday class, or it's 4 Wednesdays in a row a month. And the next class was supposed to start last week, beginning of February. And she didn't know what class was going to be about. And so she started doodling and playing with a circle and drawing things and this, that, and the other. And she goes, Michael, it came up like my automatic writing. We're going to be teaching a manifestation mastery circle this month. Okay, that's interesting. And the first one you're going to do is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. That's interesting. And so I want you to go into automatic writing, Michael. Can you see where this is going? And I want you to have a talk with Napoleon Hill about what you're going to be teaching. And I go, okay, that's not expected. I mean, you can see all these books behind me on automatic writing. It took 4 tries to get this out because I'm like, really? I'm going to be the guy who's going to be teaching automatic writing? I'm the linear coach who was an athlete and a this and a that. But I went in that next morning into automatic writing. And basically Napoleon Hill is like, I've been waiting for you, Michael. Let's talk. And gave me upgraded teachings on Think and Grow Rich. Was just this profound class last week and now a series of 4 weeks where I'm going, what in the world? But it's all field. It's all energy. It's all one. Time is not real. All the information is in there. And you go, no, the information couldn't be in there. Tell me how your cells work. Tell me how your mitochondria works. Tell me how if you get hurt, you heal. We don't consciously know any of that. The blueprint, the energy is already there. It's just translated. The cell reads it. So we can read into that field as well.
That's a great explanation. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for opening up for that. Honestly, most people listening to this will get that. It might stretch them a little bit, but they will.
I totally didn't expect it. And I'm going, okay. I actually told her I'm scared, but I will do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm absolutely intrigued myself. So let's maybe paint a couple of scenarios for people so they can help wrap their hands, especially if they're not familiar with tapping into the field, the source, and allowing information to come through, and also trusting that. Let's say we have repeating patterns that's self-sabotaging.
This means to meddle. So I'm going, oh, goody. I like this stuff.
And you could stop pretty much most people. And I have no doubt they all want the best for themselves. They all want to be the best version of themselves. And I'm sure they'd openly say that. But then when you look at the patterns and the things that we do, and there are things that can hold us back so dearly. How could automatic writing help us start to move through something like that? Because that's a very common problem.
And it's a brilliant question. There's actually a book from 1920 called Automatic Writing by a psychologist who talks about in the 1850s, how automatic writing was the tool of choice for rewiring the subconscious and moving past wounds and blocks. And it was actually used by Carl Jung in the mid 1800s. Then it fell out of vogue because the spiritualist movement at the time started using automatic writing just to communicate with the dead. And then it certainly went out of favor with psychologists and psychiatrists. It's just as powerful today for finding out what's going on in our subconscious, being able to see it. The first thing we need to be able to do is awareness, I call it snow globe it. Be able to look at what our wiring is. What's going on? Why is it doing that? Why am I, every time I step forward, grabbing a Spanish pistola, shooting myself in the foot? First, we have to be able to see the patterns. Now, the cool thing about automatic writing is, and I'm sure you're familiar with this term, it all takes place in the hypnagogic state. The hypnagogic state is that state of impressionability of the mind where you're half here, half on the other side of the veil. It's where Thomas Edison got his greatest ideas. It's where Salvador Dali and so many other painters and impressionists got their most amazing work. And it's where things like affirmations and mantras become so powerful. Emile Coué, every day in every way, things are getting better and better. You can say that till the cows come home in the waking day, and it does almost nothing to the subconscious mind. But you say it when you're in that la-la state of half awakeness. It's talked about in A Course in Miracles. And you can literally impress new ideas. I like to think of it as taking an old LP, an old album, vinyl album, and smoothing it out right before bed or smoothing it out right after you wake, and then pressing and imprinting something new. You do that in the hypnagogic state. That's the state you get into with automatic writing. It's a dreamy state of half here, half not here. And it's the most powerful place to rewire your subconscious.
Amazing. And I'm guessing as well, if people already have a meditation practice, this will come a lot quicker, I'm assuming.
With the exception, if your meditation, well, it's still come along very fast.
Mm-hmm.
When people meditate with guided meditation, I just encourage them to do a non-guided for a few minutes before they start to quiet the mind, or else your mind is actually stimulated by somebody else speaking. We don't realize that. But yes, a meditative practice goes hand in hand with this, but you don't need one. All we have to do is recognize the thinking mind. And I have a very simple process to do that. And there are an infinite number. It doesn't have to be mine. Once you recognize the thinking mind, you're able to drop it to do this. It doesn't mean you stop thinking. It just means you don't hop on the thought train.
Wow. So let me get this clear, because I want to get into a couple of tips for people before
Sure.
we get on to other questions. So I just want to reiterate something for all our listeners. And one quick question. How long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing automatic writing for just over 6 years now. Well, I started over 10 years ago, but I didn't allow myself or trust myself until 6 years ago. So everything, and you can look, well, how long's your show? Well, just about 6 years of age. How long has your finances been back on their feet and taken off? Well, it's been about 6 years. How's your relationship doing? Much better now. But if you go back 6 years ago, it was on the rocks. It all changed once I dove into awe.
Exactly. You knew exactly what I was just about to ask you then, because you just answered it. But essentially, your life has completely taken a new trajectory because of your practice of automatic writing.
That's why I say it's as important. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I mean, obviously there's other things, but it's been a cornerstone into your direction.
It's every single day, like oxygen. If I miss a morning because whatever, life, we have podcasts, things happen. Show blows up, there's an edit, there's an upload, the power went out, but the world needs your show. There's a forest fire, and it all I get it. You might get up and not do your automatic writing, and then I will double back and scurry back to it as quickly as I can.
Wow. If that's not a big enough reason to give this a go, I honestly don't know what is, for sure. All right.
Yeah.
I get off the show inspired. I'm like, Michael's book is about to come out. I believe, has it been released yet here in Australia?
This is the coolest thing. This goes along with the backstory. By the time this gets out, it will have been released. But I got the call from my publisher a few weeks ago that there had been so many pre-orders that they couldn't get books in fast enough. And so they wanted to delay the release. And my response was, woohoo! Because you and I are in the flow, and you know that it's all happening for a reason, perfectly on path, on purpose, exactly as it should be. So it got delayed so we could actually speak before the release. By the time this comes out, you'll be able to get it on Amazon. You'll be able to order it from your local reseller or bookseller. And you can get, if you want to dive in right away, you can get a video-based program with live classes at automaticwriting.com as well.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. So okay, I'm listening to this. I've ordered the book and I'm waiting.
Yeah.
What tips would you give someone to, just like even if it was like for the next 7 days, just try this or do this. I don't have theta brainwave states. I don't have the binaural beats or anything to support myself. I just want to start. Like what couple of things could you give someone to just give it a go?
So you got the book on the way, you haven't dove, you haven't gone to automaticwriting.com and got the video-based program, you want to wait for the book, go sit by a tree, man or woman.
Yeah.
Sit by a tree, put your back up against a tree, just go quiet and listen. Yeah, it's not the same writing process, but it is the same voice. Can you walk down by the beach? Can you put your feet in the water? Can you talk with the crickets? Can you listen beyond the worries of the thinking mind? can you tell yourself how much you are loved? Any of these things start to dial back, start to get a foot in the doorway beyond the thinking mind that's gotten you into this mess. And when I say mess, we're all in this mess together. So regular journaling won't get you there, but you don't need to play with that. Seriously, hug a tree. Are you saying you're a tree hugger? Yeah, I went to the Kripalu Institute in Massachusetts, US, or America, many years ago. And I had doctors and lawyers and you name it, hugging trees. Because all of a sudden you stop. And that's part of why I got my 2x4s, was the universe going, stop it, stop. We have so much to share with you, dear one. If you would only stop. So that's what I would have them do over the next week. A profound lesson. I have on our YouTube channel, I have daily downloads. I call it daily downloads from the guides of awe. Get them out of automatic writing. And one thing I was given last week was after I had my minor boo-boo was 10% less. Can you do 10% less in everything? We think about doing 10% more, about giving more, trying more, striving more, pushing more, driving more. 10% less gives you 10% more room for spirit to come in. Because if you're holding tight on that steering wheel, there's no room for spirit to do anything. But like me, if you're knocked on your ass, I hope I can say that on this show. And if not, you've got a bleep key. You got hands open. Now universe can gift you. Now universe can speak to you. 10% less. And the fact is, if you and I slow down our shows, if you and I slow down what we're doing, and I know you're on a roll, I'm on a roll, I love what I'm doing, but if we find ways to put more pause in there and we go, yeah, but I got to get this done and I get that done, we actually have more breath to get more done or higher quality work done that more than makes up the difference, because now we're not racing around with our egoic thinking mind.
Yeah. Creating that space is so important, isn't it? It's
Bingo.
Yeah. When we don't have it, it's the last thing we want to create, because we're so conditioned to keep pushing, keep driving, keep going. Got to get this done.
It's an addiction. And as the expression goes, if you don't have time to meditate twice as long. If you don't have time to pause, you better meditate or better pause at least twice as long. Putting those spaces in there, putting in the pause between the notes makes your day more beautiful. When someone is burned out, it is because they have no space between their activities.
One other question that occurred to me when you were sharing all that is that, let's say we do create some space. Let's go, I do sit by a tree, and something comes through, and then all of a sudden it terrifies me. I think, what? How do we then begin to action it? What are your thoughts on that?
There's a great term by Ram Dass, which is to snuggle up with. And I say you want to snuggle up with that fear. And by snuggle up, it's like holding your baby in your arms. Hold your baby, look at your baby, feel your baby, love your baby, examine your baby. You don't have to judge your baby. So when something drops in your arms or drops in your lap, it do exactly the same thing, without judgment, without attachment, certainly with eternal love. Not just love for baby, but my guess is, I could be wrong, so we're going to go with another bleep key moment here. You may be scared shitless when you hold her still.
I'm always scared, like thinking, oh my gosh, but is this whole bundle of emotion all in the one place?
Bingo. Yeah. Exactly. That's where you are with this idea. You don't run from it. You don't put the baby down and go run a mile away. Not good daddy skills. But that's what we do when these ideas drop into our lap. It requires what I call being an open-hearted warrior. the greatest bravery in the world to drop your shields and lean in to what you've been gifted with, to lean into what presents itself.
Perfect. Amazing. Mate, I got a few questions to ask everyone on the show. And one is, I'm kind of guessing what it might be anyway, but what does your morning routine look like?
So I get up and I sneak out of the bedroom so that I don't wake my wife. Usually I say a little bit of gratitude before my feet hit the floor. Thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for my body, all this good stuff. Get out, use the bathroom, might get some hot water, might not. Here's where we get interesting. I have to sneak to the living room table because we have a pet rooster.
Wow.
And he's sleeping in the front bedroom in his dog kennel, and he can hear my thoughts. And he won't cock-a-doodle-doo until I make any noise. And then I get 2 snooze alarms. He'll cock-a-doodle-doo about 3 times. If I don't make any noise, he'll go back to sleep. He'll do it one more time and go back to sleep. 3rd time, he needs up. It was a rescued animal. He was thrown away on the side of the road at 5 months of age. And he is the sweetest animal. He's just kind of loud, like a rooster in the morning. And so I will sneak over to the table. I will put on my headphones. I will meditate. I put on my theta brain entrainment music. I do this typing now. I used to do it writing, but
Wow.
I'm a closet dyslexic. I reverse letters. I reverse everything. And so I can keep up better with typing because the words come so fast. I put on the computer, but I put it on I use an app called Just Get Flux. It's freeware. Allows me to dim the screen. I put it on a dark room mode. It's black and red light, if you've ever seen that, like you'd use to not expose film. I do my prayers, write out my prayers, say, what do I need to know today? And it's off to the races. After my automatic writing, and I'll even set up my whole day in automatic writing, I get Ruru, Rooster, up, put him in my arms, and we immediately go for a mile or 2 or longer walk with him in my arms for the most of it, and then him following behind me for the last bit back to the house. Then I do some prayers with Jessica, some angel work, and then it's time to eat. And only after that is it time to check email or do any of the this worldly stuff, because now I have grounded and centered myself before the rest of the day does its best to take me off center.
Yeah, which can happen.
I guess right after, typically 7 a.m. on the nose, we record our daily download from the Guides of Awe. They tell me in automatic writing what I'll be speaking. So she flips on this very camera for a minute or 2. I do that and then go back about things.
Wow. How does it feel knowing or getting to a place where you completely surrender to what is to come through? Because I think that feels almost like for many people, and for myself for many years, feels almost like an intangible, unreachable, nice to have. From all your life's experiences to bringing you here to this moment, to be able to share that and speak that, how does that make you feel?
Well, I guess if I was to take all of my life experiences and bring me today, it's pretty awesome. And it is pretty awesome. If you had asked me, like lying on the pavement in France, just hit by a car, hey, you're going to learn this process where you're going to be talking to God, I would have had the monodigital response up to you and to God at that moment. Exactly. Why'd you do this to me?
Yeah.
But as you go down the spiritual path, it starts to feel more and more possible. You just don't know how. You just don't know what the technique is, what the easiest way is to crack through to the other side. And the nice thing about this is that it's so easy. You don't have to have a Kundalini experience or awakening, a near-death experience. You can just sit back and away you go. Now, it is a process. So in the beginning, you get little snippets, then you get more, then you get more. And then all of a sudden, you're having conversations with God, so to speak. It's a process. But you can do it right from the beginning. So when I work with a coaching client, when I teach, whatever I do, I have them do automatic writing first, because I don't know what's best for them. their thinking mind doesn't know what's best for them. Their inner wisdom does. And so let's get them plugged in there. And at the beginning, they don't fully, like you're saying, you're asking really, going back, this is bringing us full circle or full sandwich to the other piece of bread. How do I know? How do I believe? How do I trust that this is truly guidance? And the more you practice it, the more it starts to pepper your whole existence. And then suddenly you're feeling differently, you're acting differently, you're making different decisions. And you're like, oh my God, I get it. He calls it awe, the automatic writing experience, because I'm in a state of awe because I get it now. And then you're like, don't take my journal away to save my life. I want to hear more. I want to hear more. And you just get hungry. Like we're hungry. Everybody listening to you is hungry on this spiritual quest. We get hungry to hear what's to be shared with us.
Beautiful. What is your hope for this book? Hope's a flimsy word, by the way. I don't know if I should say, what is your intention for this book? Maybe that's a better reframe.
And it's interesting because I fought this book a lot in the beginning, and it took a lot to come out. Like I said, 4 rights of this book.
Wow.
My intention is for everyone to learn this process. And beyond that, my intention is for leaders to learn this process. Both of us have had Dr. Ervin Laszlo on the show. Dr. Ervin Laszlo wrote the foreword to this book. He's mentioned at the end of this book. His hope and plan and goal is to change the planet. We're actually working together on a project for this very thing of a new paradigm in politics, which is actually, it's coming out of some amazing people working together with me, dialing into awe and seeing what awe has to share about this. Imagine if our world leaders were plugged into spirit and could say, what do I need to know about this? What decision do I make? Do I go to war? They'd be like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
How would the world change if our leaders were spirit driven? And I'm not talking about religion, completely different beast, but we're plugged into spirit on a moment to moment basis. How would each of us live if we keep on hearing that voice of spirit in our heads, so that somebody flips us off driving down the road, and maybe it takes us a breath, maybe the hand starts to come up and we go, wait, I send you love. I've been diving into this so long. I know you're suffering. I know you're struggling. I know you're me. And so my intention is for everyone everywhere. And that's a big, lofty goal, because I don't know how it's going to happen, Guy. I don't know how this book happened. I don't know how. I love this book. It feels so amazing. I have no idea how this happened. I can remember going for a walk with my wife in New Jersey and her going, you need to write this book. And I'm like, no, not me. Not my gig, not my game, somebody else. I know it's helped me, but somebody else. And then I go into automatic writing and they're like, you've got to write this book, Michael. And I'm like, no, got the wrong guy. So I don't even know how this thing came about, but it's supposed to be everywhere. And it's supposed to be a tool available to everyone.
Amazing.
That's my intention.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Last question for you before we wrap it up. And I ask everyone on the show this, but with everything we've covered today, and there's been a lot, what would you like to leave our listeners to ponder on?
You are so much greater than you ever thought, than you ever think, than you ever could imagine. You are God, you are source, you are universe, you are everything, a part of the whole, unique, completely connected, completely inseparable. You could never be alone, no matter how much you tried. You are love, you come from love, you couldn't be anything but it. And when you realize this and you begin to drop your shields and you drop into a process like awe, or simply drop into your heart and let it guide you, life will open up in the most amazing, unexpected, and better than you ever could have imagined ways, beginning now this moment. Dear one, you have no idea how great you are. I know you're suffering. I know you're struggling, but it is all here to serve you for the magnificence that's inside of you and is who you truly are. And I would add, I send love to everyone. I love you. I love you. I love you because we are all the same ilk, the same being, the same oneness, the same energy. And so I love you so much, Guy. I truly mean that. I love what you're doing. I am so glad we are connected. I am so glad for what you're doing. I give you a big, giant cross-continent, COVID-safe hug. And know that you're here rocking it for the same reason I am. Raise people's vibration, elevate consciousness, shift humanity. And that to me is a giant woohoo!
That's beautiful, Michael. I was even going to ask, could you finish on a woohoo? Because if for anyone that hasn't listened to Michael's podcast, that's his flagship start to the show every time. And it always brings a smile to my face. You know, I've been listening to a few of your episodes and it's just wonderful what you're doing, Michael, and straight back at you, mate. I really appreciate everything you do too. This book will be released. Where's the best place to send people in Australia if they want to grab a copy of this book?
My guess is on Amazon in Australia would be the first place. And then again, for the program, the video-based program, if you want to dive in today, automaticwriting.com.
Beautiful. And all the links.
If it's not at your local bookseller, ask them to order it in.
Yes.
I want to support, I really want to support the local stores.
Totally. Well, I'll be purchasing the book as soon as it comes out, Michael, and supporting you. I can't wait to dive into it. I'm gonna give myself a period of time and actually just see what starts to come through. I've not delved into it, but it's definitely a practice that resonates with me. So I look forward to reading your book, Michael. And
excellent. If you don't have it, I'll send you an electronic copy as soon as we're off air so that you can start diving into awe tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, all the links will be below the show. So if you want to dive into Michael's work, course, book, it'll all be beneath this interview. Michael, thank you so much for your open heart and sharing today. I got a lot out of it. You know, I've done a lot of interviews and today I really got a lot out of it, Michael. And it's clear your passion, your heart, your resonance just jumps through space, beyond space and time, no matter where, mate. So thank you.
Thank you, Guy. It so goes both ways. So on a last note, not only check out our YouTube show, youtube.com/Inspire Nation show, but if you haven't, subscribe, do whatever it is, like, thumbs up, everything to Guy's show, and share it with someone else. Because clearly he resonates with you. So give it as a gift to someone else as well.
Thank you. Thank you.